Hello, my name's Alexander White, and today I thought I'd show you a really cool noise gate drum overhead mic technique which you can use anytime you have a little bit too much noise or wash in your cymbals or hi-hats or something like that, and it happens every now and again. This is not a technique you'll use every time, but once in a while you just go, yeah, actually I can fall back on this little way of working just to help get some of those cymbals softer in the mix. Again, we don't want to remove things, we just want to make it a little bit more chilled out, a little bit easier to listen to than what sometimes can happen with cymbals on live drums, which is lots of razor blades. So first of all, let's have a little listen to the track that we're going to be playing with today. Alright, cool. So first of all, let's have a look at our overheads. So in this case, if we wanted to, say, chill out some of those cymbals, if I just play you the track and turn up the overheads, you'll see that these cymbals are maybe just a touch washy. Here we go. So let's see what we can do about that. This technique, I'd say it's really important to do this, to do the fine tuning of it in context with everything, because how it sounds in solo will feel really different to how it actually sounds in the mix. So it's very important to do the actual judgment when listening to the entire track. Okay, so first of all, let's set up the gate on the overheads at all. On the noise gate, we're using the SSL 4KB channel strip plugin here, and it has a really fantastic noise gate section. So we have a range control, first of all. The range control is simply how much it's going to turn the signal down by. The threshold is simply the cutoff, so that's the point at which it's going to start taking sound away. Just however loud that sound is, the threshold comes down, and when sound starts to go above, it will include the sound, and when it drops below, it will cut the sound. So then we have the release control. The release control is how quickly it actually turns. Imagine it like having your finger on a fader and moving the fader up and down. That is whether you're moving it down quite slowly or whether you're moving it down very quickly. So those are the three controls that we're going to be using today. I'm not going to use the expander today because I'm going to really control the range mainly of how quietly I want those hi-hats and cymbals and bits in the gaps of the kick and the snare to be. So to set this up, first of all, I'm going to turn the range all the way down and I'm going to turn the threshold all the way down. This should give us basically no sound at all. So let's check. All good. You might have seen the attenuation was completely up to full on that. I'll just play it again just so you can have a look at the attenuation. Lovely. So now let's bring this threshold up just until we kind of start to capture all of our kick and snare and toms. So here we go. All right, that's really cool. So that's the kind of basic, simple initial setup. That is hardcore gating, just making sure we're getting the right things. So now in context, let's bring that in now, and I'll quickly take the gate on and off so you can see how much difference an extreme setting, which we're not going to be using in the end, but just to show you the progression, how much of a difference an extreme setting makes. So here we go. So we're clearing out all of those cymbals in the gap, and you just hear, it sounds like every crash cymbal has been caught. So let's now jump into setting up how much quieter we want to set the cymbals. And this will be using the range control. So this is where I start to use the range control in combination with the release. Sometimes I want a faster release to make it get down to the volume I want it really quickly. And sometimes maybe I want a more gentle release. Perhaps that's for for slower songs where there are longer gaps between the hits. But for now, I'll just start right in the middle at 400 milliseconds. Let's go for it and see if we can find in context where the range should sit. Well, so far for this track, that's pretty much where it started to sound natural but reduced. It's hardly anything, it's sort of 3 decibels. And that shows you how little you need of this just to push those cymbals a little bit further back. So let's quickly A-B this, and then we can tell if we want to go any more compared to the natural sound. So first of all, with noise gate on, then I'll take it off. Yeah, you can really hear that working. And you can have softer still, maybe just 2 decibels worth of reduction. Let's try that. Really listen to the hi-hats on this. Listen to how at 2 decibels, we're not noticeably changing the volume of them, so it's blindingly obvious. What we're doing is reducing the aggression of them a little bit. So I'm going to play it again for a couple of bars with the noise gate off, and then I'll turn it on and really listen to the cymbals. Don't listen to all the other bits because the idea of this is supposed to be natural and fairly invisible that we've done anything. Okay, so here we go. Isn't that a cool little trick that you can just use just to, oh, I said the word trick. It's not a trick, it's a little mix engineering technique that you can use just to help push those cymbals a bit further back. And what's so nice about this as well is then you have slightly more room for the compression too on the overheads, because then you can follow it up with a compressor, which will somewhat restore that balance, but you are able to get a little bit more compression on your overheads to get that compression tone on the kick and the snare in the overheads, which can be really helpful too. So it allows you to kind of return it rather than what can happen, which is the compressor then starts to make the cymbals sound even more aggressive. Sometimes that's what you want, sometimes it really isn't what you want. And this is really great for doing that. And then you just keep coming back all throughout the mix and just refining this as you compress, as you EQ the other tracks, and just find that point where it just feels really good that you've softened those cymbals up a little bit. They're not so aggressive, they're not so washy, and the whole mix can sound a little bit tighter. Sometimes you want washy cymbals. You know, this isn't something that I'm saying we should always get rid of washy cymbals. No, sometimes a big whoosh is amazing. But if you're after a tighter sound, try this. It's a really cool one. Thank you so much for listening. Please let me know what you think of this. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. It's so great chatting away about this stuff. And I will see you real soon on another video. Thank you very much.